Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Royal 9, the dice poker game. It's available on the Game Crafter for roughly 15 bucks, should you wish to pick it up for yourself. This video is simply to complement my written review. I'll put a link to that in the below description, so you can read more about the game after you're done here. From what I'm told, this is the final edition, the final copy of the game, so I'm going to review it as such. What you're looking at here is a cross between poker and Yahtzee. For those of you that don't know anything about Yahtzee, each player is going to get a score sheet very similar to this one. And there are multiple categories, and you're going to score one category each turn. Players roll all of the dice at the beginning of their turn, and then they can choose whatever dice they want and re-roll them. They can do that up to 2 times. Whatever dice they're left with at the end of their turn, they pick a category and they score it. And then the game is over once they've scored every category. And the idea here is you want to try and score the highest score possible and beat everybody else. If you're playing a solo game, basically you're competing against yourself to get the highest score that you've ever gotten. This game, Royal 9, is very similar to that, but it has a poker theme. In Yahtzee, it's just a 6-sided die, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pips, and that's it. Here, your dice consists of, there's 5 regular dice that consists of, like, kings and jacks and tens. The die faces are 9, 10, jack, queen, king, ace, and there are 5 suits in this game instead of 4. The 4 normal suits, you've got spades, clubs, hearts, diamonds. The 5th suit in this game is stars, in case you're curious. There is a 6 royal die that it's called, and this die is rolled along with the other ones, and these are special abilities that pop up. This ×2 lets you double your score on the category that you choose to score at the end of your turn. The Royal 9 acts like a wild. You can make that a 9 of any suit. This arrow is a pass ability, meaning that as soon as you roll it, you have to basically end your turn and pass on to the next player without scoring anything. This X simply is like no ability. It's just a brick is what it's called. And those are the 4 different die faces in the game as far as this royal die is concerned. And it plays very similar to Yahtzee. On a player's turn, they're going to take all 6 dice, they're going to roll them, they're going to look at them and go, okay, which ones do I want to put aside and which ones do I want to re-roll? They roll them, and then they can do that one more time because you get up to 2 more re-rolls after that. And whatever's left over, you're going to pick a category and you're going to mark your score here. Now, what separates this game from regular Yahtzee is that there is a bonus rank column here, which is actually quite cool. This rank column is only for the upper hand categories like pair, 2 pair, 3 of a kind, straight, flush, full house, and 4 of a kind. And the way this works is, let's say you get a pair, okay? You're basically going to put the letter or number of the pair that you had. So if you got 2 kings, for example, you would simply put a K here for king. At the end of the game, players will receive a bonus if they beat everyone else in that particular hand category. So let's say I end the game with a pair of kings. If I had a K here under the rank column under pair, let's say I just had a pair of kings and I put a K there. If someone else had queen and someone else had a pair of tens, I would have the highest rank. You get 10 bonus points for every player that you beat, which is quite cool. And different players will earn different amounts of points depending on what rank they fall in. The rulebook explains that. Again, this is more of an overview. But long story short, not only will you be earning points during the game, but you're also going to get bonus points at the end of the game based on the rank of the hands that you're getting in the upper hand categories. The lower hand categories don't have anything like that. You have super straight, straight flush, 5 of a kind, super straight flush, the Royal 9s, and zilch. Zilch being no hand scored. The zilch is kind of like the chance in Yahtzee, but this is the go-to in case you can't score anything. It's important to keep this available, though, because that brings me to another difference that makes this game unique. Normally in Yahtzee, you're given 2 more re-rolls. You roll the dice, and then you're given 2 more re-rolls. Well, in this game, you're given an extra reroll. So a total of 4 rolls or a total of 3 rerolls. You can take that 4th optional reroll if you want to, but there is a stipulation to that. You cannot have any categories, like you cannot have more than or less than 2 blank categories that you haven't scored yet. But the way that works is you can take that 4th optional roll. However, if you don't score anything, you have to zero out a total of 2 categories, which is pretty devastating. However, you can put a 0 in your zilch, and that will count as the penalty that you would normally get for that. So definitely keep your zilch available if you can, if you decide that you're going to push your luck that game and roll that extra time. But again, that's an interesting push your luck mechanic that is not available in regular Yahtzee. For those of you wondering about the components, there is no box. The game came in these plastic baggies. There is this, I don't want to say, it's not exactly great quality, this travel pouch, but it does the trick. The game comes with a number of these score sheets. There's plenty here. Should you need more, for whatever reason, the game came with this larger one. I'm guessing this is so that you can photocopy it, and then you can print that out and then take the place of this should you run out of these. But more than likely, you're not going to run out of these for quite a while. There is some assembly required. You're going to get blank dice and some stickers. And you're going to want to put the stickers on the dice in this particular order. Very important that you do so because, you know, if you put the 9 and 10 of stars on the same die, you're never going to get a flush for that suit because, you know, you need each die to have a, you know, to be able to roll that suit. And if you have a 9 and a 10 of stars on one die, well, you're never going to ever roll it. You get the idea. So anyway, definitely follow this if you can, and be careful doing so because stickers often lose their durability if you keep removing them and putting them back on. So some assembly required. This is the rule book here. It's just front and back, nothing too fancy. So I don't want to get too specific with my review because I've already written about it and you can read about it in the below description, but I will say this. It's family friendly, it's casual, and it does what it sets out to do, okay? People will be able to easily jump into this game without any problem if they're familiar with Yahtzee, and even if they aren't familiar with Yahtzee, or poker for that matter, they'll be able to jump into this without too much of a problem. And the extra layers of strategy here, and I'm going to use that term lightly, which I'll get to in a minute, but the extra layer of strategy here definitely gives it a certain appeal. On the other hand, I feel like this game didn't do enough extra things. Like there were a lot of missed opportunities, for example. I generally don't like dice rolling games unless there's a way to manipulate the dice. For example, the Royal die has a way to double your score. It has a way to pass. It has a way to not earn anything. There's a wild here for the 9s. What would have been interesting is some sort of ability that lets you manipulate the die by flipping it to the opposite side, or allowing you to re-roll one specific die, or maybe allow you to choose the value of one die. Something that allows you to manipulate the dice as opposed to constantly relying on luck. Now this is where this is a little difficult for me because it depends on what kind of family you are. If you're the family or gaming group that likes casual random chance games, then you'll be fine with this. The extra layer of fluff as it is should be sufficient for you. But for those of you strategy gamers out there that are expecting Yahtzee on steroids, you're not going to find that here because, again, there's a lot of missed opportunities with the extra fluff as it currently stands. Don't get me wrong, I like the idea of ranking your hands for the upper hand categories, and then you compare those hands at the end of the game. That is quite strategic, because let's say that you roll dice and you see that the category that you're shooting for, your opponent has maybe aces in already, and there's no chance of you ever beating it or even tying it. So you might look at that and go, you know what? I have 2 kings too, or maybe 3 kings. Maybe I should go for this category instead based on the power of his hand in this other category. So yes, there is still strategy with the extra fluff with this game, but I still think there's some missed opportunities with what it could be. And this leads me to one final point. I know that this game, the developer told me that this game is done. It's not like this is its final draft. I would highly recommend, if possible, launching this maybe on Kickstarter, some sort of crowdfunding, because the Game Crafter, while it's nice for developers to get their foot in the door, it's not exactly cheap, hence the reason why there's no box, okay, and why the game came in plastic baggies instead of a box. Game Crafter isn't cheap, because they're producing 1 or 2 units at a time, as opposed to mass producing them in bulk, which is much cheaper, okay? So if there was a way to crowdfund this, and that way you can get a box, you can add extra components or extra rules or extra variants, and keep the game roughly around 15 bucks, because when you're crowdfunding, you're going to have financial backing in order to do that. So the game is okay as is for the casual gamer family, but if the developer is serious about developing this game into something a lot more, definitely go the crowdfunding route, or if he's got enough money already, just go ahead and add some extra variants to the rulebook, add different variants that allow for dice flipping, or add more components that allow more abilities to be played, something that gives this that extra oomph that it needs to be a lot more strategic. But as a family-friendly game, casual, easy to get into, so do I recommend it? Yes, but for the lighter, casual gamer group / family, not for those looking for a heavily complex Yahtzee game. Again, if you guys want to see my review, there's a link in the below description. Again, this game is available on the Game Crafter for 15 bucks should you wish to pick this up for yourself. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.